They were the warriors history tried to forget, the men and women who fought not just for survival, but for the very soul of a nation. From the earliest days of the American Revolution to the battles that raged across Europe in the Second World War, these heroes of color stepped onto battlefields where the odds were stacked against them, not only against the enemy, but against the very institutions they had sworn to serve. Their courage was tested, their loyalty questioned, and their victories often went unnoticed by the very country they fought to protect. Imagine the first shots of the Revolution, where a man of African descent would give his life at the Boston Massacre, becoming a symbol of freedom long before the idea of equality existed. Picture the skies over Italy and North Africa, filled with planes piloted by men whose skill and bravery shattered prejudices, proving that courage knows no color. Hear the stories of sailors, Marines, and soldiers who, in moments of sheer chaos and terror, chose heroism over fear, changing the course of battles and inspiring generations that came after them. This video is not just a list. It is a journey through time and across continents, tracing the footsteps of 22 remarkable individuals whose actions reshaped the American military, and, in many ways, the very definition of freedom and justice in the United States. Each name carries a story of extraordinary valor, of battles fought against enemies abroad and discrimination at home. Each act of heroism was a spark, igniting change in a nation slow to recognize the worth of those it relied upon in its most desperate hours, from the hidden heroes of the Revolution and Civil War to the daring pilots of World War II, and the trailblazers who paved the way for future generations of soldiers. Their stories demand to be remembered. They remind us that history is not written solely by the victors, but also by those who refuse to be invisible, who fight for more than victory, who fight for dignity, for justice, and for a country that often failed to see their brilliance. In the next few minutes, we will uncover the untold stories of 22 heroes of color who changed American history. Some names you may know, many you may have never heard, but all of them share one thing in common: a courage that defied limits, a legacy that transformed a nation, and a truth that has waited far too long to be revealed. To understand how it happened, we have to go back to where it all began. 1. Benjamin O. Davis, Sr. Benjamin O. Davis, Sr., born in 1877 in Washington, D.C., came of age in a nation still grappling with the aftermath of Reconstruction, where African Americans were systematically denied opportunities for advancement, despite their talents and ambitions. From his earliest days, Davis demonstrated an extraordinary combination of intelligence, discipline, and determination, traits that would serve him well in navigating both the challenges of a segregated society and the rigid hierarchies of the United States Army. Unlike many of his contemporaries who saw barriers as insurmountable, Davis sought to challenge them directly, committing himself to military service as a path to both personal achievement and broader social progress. He enrolled at Howard University, excelling academically while cultivating leadership skills that would shape his approach to both command and advocacy. In 1898, Davis embarked on his military career, joining the Army at a time when African Americans were largely confined to menial roles, and opportunities for advancement were severely limited by prejudice. Undeterred, he quickly demonstrated both competence and initiative, earning the respect of his peers and superiors through his exemplary conduct, strategic thinking, and unwavering commitment to duty. Over decades of service, Davis served in multiple theaters and capacities, including the Philippine-American War and World War I, navigating the complexities of military life with professionalism and skill. Throughout his career, he became a mentor and role model for countless African American soldiers, proving that excellence, perseverance, and moral courage could overcome institutional barriers. His leadership style was defined not only by tactical acumen, but also by an unwavering commitment to fairness and the development of those under his command, fostering cohesion and confidence in units that were often marginalized within the broader Army structure. In 1940, after decades of distinguished service, Davis made history when he was promoted to Brigadier General, becoming the first African-American general officer in the United States Army. This milestone was not only a personal triumph, but a symbolic victory against the systemic discrimination that had long sought to limit African-American participation in leadership roles. His promotion inspired countless soldiers to pursue excellence, despite the barriers imposed by a segregated military and society, and it marked a turning point in the gradual integration of the U.S. Armed Forces. Beyond the accolades and formal recognition, Davis's life embodies the quiet heroism of steadfast dedication, moral courage, and relentless perseverance. He consistently demonstrated that leadership is measured not by privilege but by character, intellect, and the ability to uplift others while accomplishing critical objectives under pressure. His influence extended far beyond his lifetime, shaping military policy, mentoring a generation of African-American officers, including his own son, Benjamin O. Davis, Jr., and leaving a legacy of determination, service, and excellence that helped to redefine what was possible for African Americans in the armed forces. Benjamin O. Davis Sr.'s story is a testament to the transformative power of resilience and vision, illustrating that courage is not solely demonstrated on the battlefield, but also in challenging entrenched systems of inequality, breaking barriers, and setting a standard of excellence that endures across generations. By honoring Davis, we recognize a pioneer whose achievements reflect both individual brilliance and the broader struggle for recognition, equality, and opportunity, reminding us that heroism often lies in persistence, dedication, and the quiet but profound act of leading others toward a better, more just future. His life stands as a monumental example of how determination, integrity, and strategic vision can shape history, inspire generations, and pave the way for a more inclusive military and society. 2. Doris Dory Miller. Doris Dory Miller, born in 1919 in Waco, Texas, grew up in the heart of the segregated South, a place where opportunities for African Americans were tightly constrained, and the shadow of prejudice hung over nearly every aspect of life. From a young age, Miller worked on his family's farm, developing not only physical strength and endurance, but also a quiet resilience and determination that would later define his heroism. Despite the systemic limitations imposed on him by race, Miller harbored dreams of serving his country and proving that courage and dedication were qualities not confined by skin color. In 1939, he enlisted in the United States Navy, entering a military that, at the time, relegated African Americans to menial roles such as mess attendants and stewards, far from the weapons and duties of combat ships. Yet Miller's character and capability transcended these imposed limits. He quickly adapted to life at sea, learning the routines and responsibilities of a Navy sailor with diligence and attention to detail, earning the respect of his shipmates and superiors through competence and dependability. The true measure of his courage would come on December 7, 1941, during the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, assigned to the USS West Virginia. Miller was thrust into chaos and destruction as bombs and gunfire tore through the harbor. Demonstrating remarkable composure under extreme stress, he abandoned his assigned duties to assist wounded sailors, moving through smoke and debris to carry them to safety, showing a selflessness and bravery that would distinguish him forever. When the call for defensive action came, Miller manned an anti-aircraft gun, a weapon he had not been trained to operate, and began firing at attacking Japanese aircraft. His determination, skill, and quick thinking contributed to the ship's defense and inspired those around him, embodying the very essence of heroism in a moment where survival demanded extraordinary courage. Though he survived the attack, Miller continued his service with unwavering dedication, participating in further naval operations and consistently exemplifying the ideals of honor, duty, and resilience that had defined his actions at Pearl Harbor. His heroism was eventually recognized with the Navy Cross, making him the first African American to receive this distinguished honor, a recognition that underscored both his individual valor and the broader contributions of African Americans in the military. Dory Miller's story is not only one of battlefield courage, but also of the quiet determination to transcend societal limits, challenging racial barriers through action rather than words. His legacy resonates as a powerful example of bravery, perseverance, and the transformative power of moral courage, showing that heroism is defined not by rank or assigned duty, but by the willingness to act decisively and selflessly in the face of danger. Miller's life continues to inspire, reminding us that ordinary individuals, when guided by conviction and courage, can rise to extraordinary heights. Leaving an indelible mark on history through his actions, Dory Miller redefined what it meant to serve with honor, proving that true valor knows no racial boundaries, and that the impact of one individual's bravery can echo across generations, shaping the narrative of heroism in the United States Navy and beyond. 3. Crispus Attucks. Crispus Attucks, born around 1723, stands as one of the earliest and most iconic figures to bridge the fight for freedom and the struggle against racial oppression in America. A man of African and Native American descent, Attucks grew up in a society structured by rigid class hierarchies and pervasive racial discrimination, where people of color were routinely marginalized and denied basic rights. Despite these limitations, he forged a life marked by resilience, independence, and a fierce sense of justice. By adulthood, Attucks had become a sailor and dock worker in Boston, navigating the dangerous, bustling waterfront where life was hard, and tensions between colonists and the British Crown were escalating. The waterfront exposed him to the harsh realities of colonial oppression, economic inequality, and the growing unrest that would eventually ignite the American Revolution. On March 5, 1770, Attucks found himself at the center of history during the event that would be remembered as the Boston Massacre. Rising tensions between colonists and British soldiers had reached a boiling point, and a crowd had gathered near the Custom House to protest the presence and actions of the Redcoats. Attucks, a man known for his physical strength and unwavering resolve, was part of that crowd. Accounts suggest that he moved to the forefront, embodying the courage and determination of those who refused to be intimidated by authority. When violence erupted and the soldiers opened fire, Attucks was among the first to fall, shot dead in the streets of Boston. Yet his death was not in vain. It became a rallying point for the colonial resistance and a symbol of the intertwined struggle for liberty and racial justice. Attucks' courage in confronting a powerful, oppressive force made him a martyr for freedom, and over time, his story would resonate as an emblem of African American contribution to the nation's founding struggle. Unlike many historical figures whose names faded into obscurity, Crispus Attucks' legacy endured because it represented both the ultimate sacrifice and the assertion of dignity in the face of systemic oppression. He became the first casualty of the American Revolution, a man whose life and death underscored that the fight for independence was inseparable from the struggle against racial and social injustice. In the years that followed, Attucks' memory inspired generations of African Americans and freedom fighters, serving as a potent reminder that courage, defiance, and the willingness to stand for justice can shape the course of history. Monuments, commemorations, and historical accounts honor him not only as a casualty, but as a symbol of resistance, a man who dared to confront tyranny at the cost of his life. Crispus Attucks' story illustrates that heroism is timeless, defined by conviction and action rather than privilege or position, and that one individual's willingness to stand against oppression can ignite the conscience of a nation. By remembering Attucks, we recognize the profound impact of bravery intertwined with principle, a legacy that challenges us to confront injustice, honor sacrifice, and understand that the pursuit of liberty often demands extraordinary courage from ordinary individuals. In the streets of Boston, Attucks' courage resonated far beyond his own time, echoing across centuries as a testament to the power of defiance, the value of human dignity, and the enduring influence of a man who became the first martyr for freedom in a revolution that would redefine a nation. 4. Benjamin O. Davis, Jr. Benjamin O. Davis, Jr., born in 1912 in Washington, D.C., inherited a legacy of service and resilience from his father, Benjamin O. Davis, Sr., yet he carved his own path in a world that remained deeply segregated and skeptical of African Americans' capabilities in leadership roles. From a young age, Davis Jr. displayed a keen intellect, determination, and an unyielding drive to excel, qualities that would guide him through the rigorous challenges of military life, and eventually cement his place as one of the most influential African American officers in United States history. Educated at a time when the military largely restricted African Americans to support positions, Davis Jr. faced obstacles that would have discouraged many. Yet he pursued his passion for aviation, a field where African Americans were virtually invisible, applying to the Army Air Corps with the steadfast resolve of someone determined to prove that talent and courage know no racial boundaries. In 1936, Davis Jr. made history by becoming the first African American to graduate from the United States Military Academy at West Point in nearly 2 decades, earning a commission as a second lieutenant. His graduation was not only a personal triumph, but also a symbolic challenge to the deeply entrenched prejudices of the time, demonstrating that African Americans could meet the same rigorous standards as their white counterparts assigned to segregated units. Davis Jr. honed his skills as a pilot and leader, preparing for the moment when his abilities would be tested in the most extreme conditions. During World War II, he assumed command of the 99th Fighter Squadron, the first African American fighter unit, and later became a key leader of the famed Tuskegee Airmen under his guidance. These pilots overcame both the hazards of combat and the pervasive skepticism of a segregated military system, flying hundreds of missions in Europe and earning a reputation for exceptional skill, discipline, and bravery. Davis Jr.'s leadership extended beyond tactical expertise. He instilled confidence, resilience, and pride in his squadron, fostering a sense of unity and purpose that enabled them to achieve historic victories despite systemic discrimination. His personal courage was matched by his strategic vision, as he continuously advocated for the expansion of African American roles in combat aviation and leadership, laying the groundwork for the eventual desegregation of the United States Air Force following the war. Davis Jr. continued to break barriers, rising through the ranks to become the first African American general in the U.S. Air Force, a milestone that not only recognized his individual accomplishments, but also symbolized the potential of African Americans to serve at the highest levels of military leadership. Throughout his career, he confronted prejudice, bureaucracy, and skepticism with the same discipline and resolve that had defined his early years, demonstrating that excellence, courage, and integrity could overcome entrenched barriers. Benjamin O. Davis Jr.'s life is a testament to perseverance, leadership, and moral courage, showing that heroism is as much about breaking systemic barriers as it is about acts of valor in combat. His story reflects the intersection of personal ambition, societal change, and historical impact, illustrating how one individual's dedication can transform institutions and inspire generations. By honoring Davis Jr., we celebrate not only a trailblazing military leader, but also a man whose vision, discipline, and courage reshaped the U.S. Armed Forces, proving that determination and excellence can challenge prejudice, redefine possibility, and leave a lasting legacy for those who follow. His legacy endures as a powerful reminder that leadership, resilience, and moral conviction are forces capable of changing the course of history, and that extraordinary achievement often arises from the steadfast pursuit of equality and excellence against overwhelming odds. 5. Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman, born around 1822 in Dorchester County, Maryland, entered the world into the brutal reality of slavery, a system that sought to strip African Americans of freedom, dignity, and identity. From an early age, Tubman experienced the harshness of forced labor, witnessing cruelty, injustice, and the constant threat of violence. Yet even as a child, she exhibited an extraordinary blend of resilience, intelligence, and courage, qualities that would define her remarkable life and establish her as one of the most formidable figures in American history. Escaping slavery herself in 1849, Tubman refused to simply enjoy the freedom she had fought so desperately to claim. Instead, she dedicated her life to returning to the South again and again, to lead dozens of enslaved men, women, and children to liberty via the Underground Railroad. Her missions were fraught with peril, demanding careful planning, courage under constant threat, and a profound sense of moral conviction. Tubman's success as a conductor on the Underground Railroad was not only measured in the lives she directly saved, but also in the symbolic defiance she embodied against an institution built on oppression. Each journey back into hostile territory required extraordinary stealth, quick thinking, and the ability to inspire trust and bravery in those she guided, often navigating unfamiliar terrain at night, evading slave catchers, and responding to unpredictable dangers with courage and tactical intelligence. Her reputation as Moses among enslaved communities reflected the awe and respect she commanded, a recognition of her fearless determination to confront mortal danger for the sake of others' freedom. Tubman's heroism extended beyond the Underground Railroad. During the American Civil War, she served as a spy, scout, nurse, and recruiter for the Union Army, applying her intimate knowledge of the Southern landscape and her network of informants to gather intelligence, guide raids, and support Union troops. One of her most daring operations involved leading an armed expedition in South Carolina that liberated more than 700 enslaved people, demonstrating that her courage and leadership were not confined to acts of rescue, but could also shape military strategy and directly undermine the Confederacy. Tubman's contributions in the military sphere underscored her versatility, strategic mind, and unyielding commitment to the cause of freedom. Blending moral courage with tactical brilliance throughout her life, she faced immense personal risk, hardship, and physical exhaustion, yet her resilience never wavered. Harriet Tubman's legacy is defined not merely by the remarkable feats she accomplished, but by the enduring inspiration she provides, a testament to the power of individual courage, moral clarity, and relentless dedication to justice. She redefined the boundaries of heroism, showing that leadership, bravery, and self-sacrifice can reshape society, liberate countless lives, and leave an indelible mark on history. By honoring Tubman, we recognize a life devoted to challenging systemic oppression, protecting the vulnerable, and confronting danger with unwavering resolve. Her story continues to resonate across generations, reminding us that true heroism often requires not only physical bravery, but the moral courage to act decisively for the freedom and dignity of others, even at the risk of one's own life. Harriet Tubman's life exemplifies the extraordinary potential of ordinary individuals who, through courage, intelligence, and determination, can confront injustice, transform the course of history, and inspire humanity to aspire toward a higher standard of justice, freedom, and equality. 6. Henry Johnson. Henry Johnson, born in 1892 in Albany, New York, came into a world where the promise of freedom for African Americans remained painfully incomplete, shadowed by systemic racism and limited opportunity. From an early age, Johnson displayed remarkable physical strength, resilience, and a sense of self-reliance, traits honed through laborious work and a childhood spent navigating a society that often denied him the recognition and respect he deserved. Driven by both a desire for purpose and the pursuit of dignity, he enlisted in the New York National Guard, eventually becoming a member of the 369th Infantry Regiment, famously known as the Harlem Hellfighters. This regiment was composed entirely of African American soldiers, many of whom faced the dual battle of confronting enemy forces abroad and skepticism from within their own military ranks, where prejudice often limited their roles to support functions rather than frontline combat. Johnson's courage and resolve were soon put to the ultimate test during World War I, when the 369 was deployed to the front lines in France on the night of May 14, 1918. While on a routine patrol in the Argonne Forest, Johnson and his comrade Needham Roberts were ambushed by a German raiding party. Outnumbered and under intense enemy fire, Johnson exhibited extraordinary valor, engaging the attackers with his rifle and a bolo knife, refusing to retreat despite sustaining multiple gunshot and bayonet wounds. For more than an hour, he fought with relentless determination, protecting his fellow soldiers, preventing the capture of vital documents, and ultimately repelling the enemy attack. His actions exemplified not only physical courage, but also extraordinary mental fortitude and tactical ingenuity, earning him the admiration of his comrades and commanding officers. Remarkably, Johnson's heroism went unrecognized by the United States military for decades, a reflection of the pervasive racial discrimination that African American soldiers faced despite their proven bravery. It was only in 2015, nearly a century after his valorous actions, that he was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor, cementing his legacy as one of America's most heroic soldiers. Beyond the battlefield, Henry Johnson's story symbolizes the broader struggle of African Americans in the military and society at large, a struggle to be seen, to be recognized, and to assert one's worth through courage and action. His life illustrates that heroism is defined not by race or circumstance, but by the steadfast willingness to confront danger, protect others, and act decisively when the stakes are highest. Johnson's legacy endures as a beacon of resilience, inspiring generations to pursue courage, integrity, and perseverance in the face of adversity. By honoring him, we acknowledge the sacrifices of those who fought valiantly while confronting systemic injustice, and we recognize that the path to true equality often requires the same bravery displayed on the battlefield. Henry Johnson's extraordinary valor, unyielding spirit, and unwavering commitment to duty serve as a timeless testament to the transformative power of courage and the enduring impact of one individual's actions, proving that heroism can change both the course of events and the perception of what is possible for those who follow. His story reminds us that acts of extraordinary bravery often emerge from ordinary circumstances, and that the combination of skill, determination, and moral courage can leave an indelible mark on history, inspiring future generations to confront injustice and rise above the limitations imposed upon them. 7. Robert Smalls. Robert Smalls, born into slavery on April 5, 1839, in Beaufort, South Carolina, grew up in a world designed to strip African Americans of autonomy, dignity, and opportunity. From his earliest days, Smalls experienced the harsh realities of bondage, witnessing the cruelty of overseers and the relentless struggle for survival that defined life under slavery. Yet even in such oppressive circumstances, he displayed intelligence, ingenuity, and an unwavering determination to seize freedom whenever possible. Smalls began his life working in the fields and performing various laborious tasks, yet he quickly demonstrated an aptitude for seamanship, learning to navigate the waterways of Charleston Harbor with skill and precision. By the outbreak of the Civil War, he had become an experienced pilot of the rivers and coastal waters, a mastery that would soon allow him to alter the course of history. On May 13, 1862, Smalls executed one of the most daring acts of heroism in American history. As a crew member aboard the Confederate transport ship, the CSS Planter, he took command under cover of darkness, freeing himself, his family, and fellow enslaved crew members from the ship's oppressive hold. Smalls expertly navigated the heavily guarded harbor, deceiving Confederate officers and avoiding detection by enemy sentries, ultimately sailing the vessel to Union lines. This act not only secured the freedom of himself and his passengers, but also delivered the ship and its valuable cargo to the Union Navy, providing strategic advantage and critical intelligence. Smalls' courage, leadership, and extraordinary composure under immense pressure reflected the qualities of a masterful military strategist, despite the absence of formal rank or recognition. At that moment, beyond the immediate impact of his escape, Smalls became a symbol of African American agency and resistance, demonstrating that skill, intelligence, and courage could triumph over the most formidable systems of oppression. Following the Civil War, he leveraged his leadership, strategic acumen, and commitment to justice to pursue a career in politics, serving in the South Carolina State Legislature and later in the United States House of Representatives. Throughout his political career, Smalls championed the rights of freedmen, advocating for education, civil rights, and fair treatment under the law, translating the courage he displayed on the water into advocacy and leadership in the halls of government. His life embodies the intersection of military bravery and civic heroism, showing that the fight for freedom extends far beyond a single battle or daring escape. Robert Smalls' legacy endures as a testament to the power of intellect, courage, and moral conviction to transform both individual lives and the broader course of history. His daring escape and subsequent public service exemplify the profound impact one person can have when guided by principle, skill, and a relentless commitment to justice. Smalls' story reminds us that heroism is not solely defined by battlefield valor, but by the courage to seize freedom, challenge injustice, and lead others toward a better future, even in the face of extraordinary danger. Through his actions, he redefined what was possible for African Americans in a nation struggling with the legacy of slavery, leaving an indelible mark on both military history and the ongoing pursuit of equality. Robert Smalls remains an enduring symbol of resilience, ingenuity, and unwavering determination, a man whose life proves that bravery, intelligence, and leadership can alter the course of history and inspire generations to come. 8. Daniel Chappie, James. Daniel Chappie James Jr., born in 1920 in Pensacola, Florida, entered a world still defined by segregation and limited opportunities for African Americans, yet from a young age he exhibited an insatiable curiosity, intelligence, and a fierce determination to excel beyond the boundaries imposed upon him. Growing up in the Deep South, James was acutely aware of the barriers surrounding him, yet he refused to allow prejudice to dictate his ambitions. He immersed himself in academics, athletics, and technical pursuits, cultivating the discipline and resilience that would later propel him into a historic military career. Inspired by a fascination with flight and a desire to serve his country with distinction, James pursued a path in aviation at a time when African Americans were often excluded from combat roles and leadership positions in the armed forces. His persistence led him to enroll in flight training programs, overcoming both institutional bias and the rigorous demands of military aviation. In 1943, during World War II, James earned his commission as a fighter pilot and joined the famed Tuskegee Airmen, an all-African American unit whose pilots would become legendary for their skill, bravery, and resilience. Within the squadron, James quickly distinguished himself not only through aerial prowess, but also through strategic thinking, leadership, and an unwavering commitment to his fellow airmen. He flew combat missions in Europe, demonstrating remarkable courage under fire, exceptional piloting skills, and a dedication to mission success that earned the respect of both peers and superiors. James's contributions extended beyond the cockpit. He served as a mentor, advocate, and symbol of excellence within a military still grappling with segregation, inspiring other African American pilots to pursue excellence despite systemic obstacles. After World War II, James continued to rise through the ranks, serving in the Korean and Vietnam Wars and assuming increasingly senior leadership positions. His career culminated in 1975 when he became the first African American four-star general in the history of the United States Air Force, a milestone reflecting not only his extraordinary achievements, but also the broader struggle for racial equality and integration within the military. Throughout his life, James exemplified the qualities of courage, discipline, and visionary leadership, consistently breaking barriers while remaining committed to service, excellence, and the mentorship of future generations. His legacy is defined not only by his historic rank, but by the inspiration he provided to countless individuals who witnessed an African American man achieve the highest levels of military leadership, proving that skill, integrity, and determination can overcome systemic obstacles. Daniel Chappie, James Jr.'s story serves as a powerful reminder that heroism encompasses both battlefield bravery and the moral courage to challenge injustice, demonstrate leadership, and pave the way for others. His life reflects the intersection of personal ambition, professional excellence, and societal impact, illustrating that one individual's dedication and resolve can reshape institutions, inspire generations, and leave an indelible mark on history. By honoring James, we recognize a figure whose courage, intellect, and perseverance redefined what was possible for African Americans in the military, leaving a legacy of excellence, mentorship, and unwavering commitment to service that continues to resonate today. His story embodies the transformative power of resilience, leadership, and audacity, proving that extraordinary achievement often arises from steadfast dedication to purpose, vision, and principle in the face of adversity. 9. William Carney. William Carney, born in 1840 in Norfolk, Virginia, entered a world defined by the brutal realities of slavery, where freedom was denied to African Americans, and every aspect of life was constrained by prejudice and oppression. From his earliest years, Carney witnessed the hardships endured by enslaved people, cultivating in himself a profound sense of resilience, moral courage, and an unwavering belief in the dignity of human life. As a young man, he sought ways to assert his agency, eventually finding work that allowed him to contribute meaningfully to his community, and to prepare for a life that would demand both courage and sacrifice. When the Civil War erupted in 1861, Carney answered the call to serve his country, enlisting in the 54th Massachusetts Volunteer Infantry, one of the first African American regiments organized in the North. The 54th Massachusetts carried immense symbolic and strategic importance, representing the determination of African Americans to fight for their own liberation, and for the Union cause. Carney's resolve and dedication were soon put to the ultimate test during the assault on Fort Wagner in South Carolina on July 18, 1863. Amidst the chaos of battle, under withering fire and the death of many comrades, Carney seized the regiment's colors when the flag-bearer fell, understanding the symbolic and tactical significance of keeping the colors aloft. Despite being wounded multiple times, he refused to let the flag touch the ground, demonstrating extraordinary bravery and inspiring the soldiers around him to continue the assault. Despite overwhelming odds, his actions in the heat of combat exemplified the highest ideals of courage, leadership, and selflessness, underscoring the ability of one individual to influence the morale and determination of an entire unit. Kearny's heroism was not only a testament to his personal character, but also a defiance of the pervasive racism that questioned the valor and capability of African American soldiers. Following the battle, he carried the colors safely back to Union lines, an act that would ultimately earn him the Medal of Honor in 1900, making him the first African American to receive the nation's highest military decoration. Beyond the battlefield, Kearny's legacy reflects the broader struggle for equality and recognition, illustrating how African American soldiers proved their valor and patriotism, despite systemic discrimination and societal limitations. His story serves as a powerful reminder that heroism is defined not by rank, position, or privilege, but by the courage to act decisively in moments of extreme danger, placing duty, honor, and the welfare of others above oneself. William Kearny's life continues to inspire, demonstrating that steadfast bravery, moral conviction, and perseverance can alter the course of events, influence history, and challenge entrenched prejudices. By honoring Kearny, we recognize a man whose courage under fire transcended personal survival to become a symbol of African American valor, resilience, and contribution to the fight for liberty and justice. His legacy endures as a testament to the power of determination, integrity, and selfless action, illustrating how one individual's extraordinary heroism can leave an indelible mark on the nation, inspire generations, and redefine what it means to stand courageously for freedom and honor against seemingly insurmountable odds. William Kearny embodies the intersection of valor and moral courage, proving that acts of heroism are timeless, transformative, and capable of shaping both history and the collective consciousness of a nation. 10. John R. Fox. John R. Fox, born in 1915 in Cincinnati, Ohio, emerged from a world where African Americans faced pervasive segregation, systemic barriers, and limited opportunities. Yet from a young age, he exhibited remarkable intelligence, discipline, and a sense of responsibility that would define his extraordinary life. Excelling academically and demonstrating an early aptitude for leadership, Fox pursued higher education and later enlisted in the U.S. Army during a period when African Americans were largely relegated to support roles, with opportunities for command and frontline action severely restricted by prejudice. Determined to serve his country with distinction, he underwent rigorous training, earning a commission as a second lieutenant, and eventually taking command positions that tested both his tactical skill and moral courage. By 1944, as World War II raged across Europe, Fox had been assigned to the 92nd Infantry Division, an African American unit deployed to the Italian front. Amid the brutal winter conditions and relentless combat, Fox distinguished himself through exceptional leadership, earning the respect and trust of his soldiers despite the dual battle they faced, fighting a formidable enemy while navigating the challenges of racial discrimination within the Army itself. On the night of December 26, 1944, near Somma in northern Italy, Fox confronted a situation that would etch his name into the annals of military heroism. Surrounded by a superior German force and witnessing the imminent threat to his men and the civilians of the village, he made a decision that demonstrated extraordinary valor and selflessness. Taking a forward position to direct artillery fire, Fox knowingly exposed himself to enemy observation, coordinating barrages that inflicted heavy losses on the attacking forces and slowed their advance, despite the near certainty of his own death. His actions allowed many of his soldiers to escape and the village to survive, exemplifying tactical brilliance under extreme duress and an unyielding commitment to duty and protection of others. Fox was killed in action, but his leadership, courage, and ultimate sacrifice became a symbol of African American heroism and dedication during a war that demanded extraordinary fortitude from all who served. In 1997, more than 50 years after his death, he was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor, finally receiving recognition for the profound impact of his actions on the battlefield and the lives he saved. Beyond the immediate heroism of that fateful night, John R. Fox's legacy underscores the broader struggle for equality, respect, and recognition that African American soldiers faced, highlighting the intersection of personal bravery and the fight against systemic injustice. His story serves as a testament to the power of moral courage, the ability to act decisively in moments of extreme peril, and the enduring impact one individual can have on both comrades and history. John R. Fox embodies the principle that heroism is defined not by circumstance, rank, or privilege, but by the willingness to confront danger, protect others, and uphold one's duty under impossible conditions. His life and sacrifice continue to inspire generations, demonstrating that valor, leadership, and moral conviction can reshape not only the outcome of battles, but also the perception of African American contributions to the nation, leaving an indelible legacy of courage, resilience, and extraordinary character that transcends time and circumstance. 11. Charles Young. Charles Young, born in 1864 in Mays Lick, Kentucky, emerged into a nation still reeling from the aftermath of slavery, where African Americans faced systemic oppression, entrenched segregation, and limited prospects for advancement. Despite these formidable barriers, Young exhibited exceptional intelligence, discipline, and a relentless drive from an early age, traits that would carry him through a remarkable military career defined by both leadership and resilience. At a time when African Americans were frequently barred from leadership roles in the armed forces, Young secured admission to the United States Military Academy at West Point, becoming only the third African American to graduate from the institution in 1889. His graduation was not merely a personal triumph. It was a symbolic challenge to a military establishment steeped in racial prejudice, demonstrating that determination, intellect, and perseverance could break through even the most rigid barriers. Following West Point, Young faced continual challenges as he navigated a military hierarchy that was often reluctant to recognize the capabilities of African American officers. Yet he consistently distinguished himself through exceptional service, intelligence, and leadership, earning respect for his strategic insight, calm under pressure, and ability to inspire those under his command. Young's assignments were both diverse and demanding, ranging from commanding African American regiments in the Philippines and the American West to serving as a military attaché in Liberia, where he worked to foster diplomatic and military cooperation. In each role, he not only executed his duties with excellence, but also embodied a pioneering spirit, often venturing into environments hostile to both his race and his mission. One of his most significant achievements was his leadership of the 9th Cavalry Regiment, a unit of Buffalo soldiers where he emphasized discipline, skill, and morale, transforming the regiment into an effective and respected fighting force despite widespread skepticism about African American soldiers' abilities. Young's commitment to duty extended beyond battlefield performance. He became an advocate for African American soldiers, tirelessly working to expand opportunities and prove their equal capability in leadership and combat. His dedication to service often came at personal cost, including professional setbacks and forced retirements influenced by the pervasive racism of the era. Nevertheless, he persevered, continuing to serve his country with distinction until his death in 1922 while on active duty, marking the first time an African American officer died in service at the rank of Colonel. Charles Young's legacy endures as a testament to courage, intellect, and perseverance in the face of systemic barriers, demonstrating that true leadership is defined by excellence, moral fortitude, and the ability to inspire others despite adversity. He redefined what was possible for African Americans in the military, proving that skill, determination, and integrity could overcome entrenched prejudice. By honoring Young, we recognize a life that not only achieved personal distinction, but also paved the way for future generations, leaving an indelible mark on military history, civil rights, and the ongoing struggle for equality. His story illustrates that heroism encompasses more than battlefield bravery. It includes the courage to challenge societal norms, break barriers, and lead with unwavering principle, creating a legacy that continues to inspire resilience, leadership, and excellence in the generations that follow. 12. Frederick C. Branch. Frederick C. Branch, born in 1922 in New Bern, North Carolina, entered a society deeply divided by racial segregation, systemic discrimination, and limited opportunities for African Americans. Yet from an early age, he demonstrated a tenacity, intelligence, and leadership potential that would shape his extraordinary path. Growing up in a community constrained by prejudice, Branch cultivated resilience, discipline, and an unyielding determination to excel, preparing him to confront and overcome the dual challenges of military rigor and societal bias. Inspired by a calling to serve and to break barriers, he pursued a military career during World War II, a time when African Americans were systematically excluded from elite combat and leadership positions, particularly in the U.S. Marine Corps, which had only recently begun accepting black recruits. Branch's ambition and skill distinguished him in a training environment where expectations were deliberately limited, yet he demonstrated exceptional capability, earning the respect of instructors and peers alike through his dedication, tactical insight, and unwavering commitment to excellence. In 1945, Frederick C. Branch achieved a historic milestone by becoming the first African American officer commissioned in the United States Marine Corps, a groundbreaking accomplishment that challenged entrenched prejudices and signaled a shift in the possibilities for African Americans in the armed forces. His commissioning was not merely a personal triumph, but a symbolic victory against institutional barriers, proving that ability, leadership, and courage transcend race. Throughout his career, Branch served with distinction in a variety of roles, demonstrating the same resilience, professionalism, and tactical acumen that had marked his training and early service. His presence in the officer ranks paved the way for future generations of African Americans to serve as leaders, mentors, and innovators in the military, setting a standard of excellence that would influence both policy and culture within the Marine Corps. Beyond his operational duties, Branch became an enduring symbol of progress and possibility, showing that dedication, competence, and perseverance could break long-standing barriers and redefine expectations in a system historically resistant to inclusion. His life reflects the intersection of personal achievement, societal transformation, and historical significance, illustrating how one individual's courage and determination can challenge prejudice, inspire others, and create lasting change within an institution. Frederick C. Branch's story underscores that heroism is not confined to acts on the battlefield alone. It also encompasses the courage to confront systemic injustice, to excel in the face of doubt, and to open doors for those who follow. His legacy remains a testament to the power of resilience, leadership, and vision, demonstrating that breaking barriers requires both exceptional ability and unwavering moral conviction. By honoring Branch, we recognize a life devoted to service, excellence, and the pursuit of equality, celebrating a pioneering figure whose achievements reshaped the landscape of the U.S. military and inspired generations of African American officers to reach the heights of leadership, proving that courage, skill, and determination can transcend prejudice, redefine possibility, and leave an indelible mark on history. Frederick C. Branch stands as a lasting symbol of trailblazing leadership, demonstrating that one individual's perseverance and commitment to excellence can fundamentally transform institutions and inspire enduring change for future generations. 13. Vernon Baker. Vernon Baker, born in 1919 in Cheyenne, Wyoming, entered a society marked by segregation, racial prejudice, and limited opportunities for African Americans. Yet from the earliest days of his life, he exhibited remarkable determination, courage, and a steadfast sense of justice that would define his extraordinary path. Growing up in a world that often underestimated him, Baker cultivated resilience and discipline, channeling his ambition into education, athletics, and a commitment to serve something greater than himself. When World War II erupted, he answered the nation's call, enlisting in the United States Army and joining the ranks of African American soldiers who faced the dual challenge of confronting enemy forces abroad while enduring systemic discrimination within their own military. Assigned to the 92nd Infantry Division, Baker quickly demonstrated an exceptional combination of tactical skill, physical courage, and leadership under fire, earning the respect of both his peers and commanding officers. On the night of April 5, 1945, near Viareggio, Italy, Baker's valor would be tested in circumstances that few could have survived unscathed. Leading an assault against a heavily fortified German position, he and his men encountered intense enemy fire, minefields, and machine gun nests that threatened to halt their advance. Undeterred, Baker moved forward with calculated audacity, personally neutralizing enemy positions, rescuing wounded soldiers, and inspiring his squad to press onward despite overwhelming danger. His actions not only contributed to the success of the mission, but also saved countless lives, embodying the highest ideals of courage, leadership, and selflessness. Remarkably, Baker's heroism went unrecognized for decades due to the racial biases that permeated the military at the time, reflecting the broader struggle of African American soldiers whose contributions were often overlooked. It was not until 1997, more than 50 years later, that Vernon Baker was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor, finally receiving the recognition his extraordinary bravery deserved beyond the battlefield. Baker's story symbolizes the perseverance, skill, and moral courage required to overcome systemic barriers, demonstrating that true heroism is defined not only by acts of valor, but also by the ability to challenge injustice, inspire others, and remain steadfast in the face of adversity. His life reflects the intersection of personal excellence, societal transformation, and historical impact, illustrating how one individual's commitment to courage and duty can reshape perceptions and leave an enduring legacy. Vernon Baker's legacy continues to inspire generations, proving that determination, integrity, and unwavering bravery can transcend prejudice, redefine possibility, and create a lasting mark on history. He embodies the principle that heroism is as much about moral fortitude and leadership as it is about battlefield courage, showing that extraordinary achievements can arise from steadfast dedication to duty, the protection of others, and the pursuit of justice in the most challenging circumstances. By honoring Baker, we recognize a life that not only exemplified military excellence, but also symbolized the transformative potential of African American soldiers, highlighting the profound impact one person can have in shaping both history and the course of future generations. Vernon Baker stands as a testament to courage, resilience, and leadership, demonstrating that unwavering commitment to excellence and justice can leave an indelible mark on the world and inspire countless others to follow in his footsteps. 14. Edward A. Carter, Jr. Edward A. Carter, Jr., born in 1916 in Los Angeles, California, grew up in an America deeply divided by racial inequality, where African Americans faced systemic barriers that limited their opportunities for advancement and recognition. Despite these obstacles, Carter demonstrated exceptional determination, courage, and a profound sense of duty from an early age, qualities that would define his remarkable military career. Drawn to the ideals of service and inspired by the possibility of defending freedom, he enlisted in the U.S. Army during a time when African Americans were often restricted to support roles, denied the chance to demonstrate their full combat potential. Carter's resolve and tenacity allowed him to transcend these limitations, earning him a position that would test his courage and skill in the most extreme circumstances. By 1945, Carter found himself on the front lines in Europe, where he served as a staff sergeant in the 4th Infantry Division during World War II. In March of that year, near the German town of Untergriesheim, he faced a situation that would define his legacy. During a fierce engagement against heavily fortified German positions, Carter's unit came under intense fire, with many soldiers pinned down or wounded. Recognizing the critical need for decisive action, Carter advanced alone through a hail of bullets, grenades, and machine gun fire, displaying extraordinary bravery and tactical acumen. He personally neutralized multiple enemy positions, rescued fellow soldiers, and inspired his unit to press forward despite the overwhelming danger. His actions directly contributed to the success of the mission and the safety of his comrades, embodying the highest ideals of courage, leadership, and selflessness. Remarkably, despite being wounded, Carter refused evacuation until the mission was secured, demonstrating an unwavering commitment to duty that surpassed personal safety. His heroism, however, went largely unrecognized for decades due to the racial prejudices that pervaded both military and civilian institutions at the time. It was not until 1997, over 50 years after his courageous acts, that Edward A. Carter, Jr. was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor, affirming the extraordinary valor and sacrifice he had demonstrated in combat beyond the battlefield. Carter's story symbolizes the resilience, perseverance, and moral courage required of African American soldiers who fought not only enemy forces abroad, but also systemic injustice at home. His life illustrates that heroism encompasses both physical bravery and the steadfast commitment to principle, honor, and the welfare of others. Edward A. Carter Jr.'s legacy continues to inspire generations, serving as a testament to the power of individual courage, determination, and integrity to overcome discrimination, achieve excellence, and alter the course of history. By honoring Carter, we recognize a man whose extraordinary valor challenged entrenched prejudice, exemplified selfless leadership, and illuminated the critical role of African Americans in shaping the outcome of pivotal moments in history. His story reminds us that true heroism is measured not only by the feats accomplished in battle, but also by the ability to persist, lead, and inspire under the most challenging circumstances, leaving an indelible mark on both military history and the collective consciousness of a nation. Edward A. Carter, Jr. stands as a symbol of courage, resilience, and unwavering dedication, proving that one person's extraordinary actions can transcend barriers, redefine possibility, and inspire countless others to rise above adversity in the pursuit of justice and excellence. 15. Roscoe Robinson, Jr. Roscoe Robinson, Jr., born in 1928 in St. Louis, Missouri, came into a world where African Americans faced entrenched segregation, social prejudice, and systemic barriers that limited both opportunity and recognition. From an early age, Robinson exhibited extraordinary intelligence, discipline, and a strong sense of purpose, traits that would guide him through a trailblazing military career and define his legacy as a leader and pioneer. Growing up in an era when African Americans were often denied access to positions of authority in the armed forces, he cultivated resilience, determination, and a commitment to excellence, understanding that personal achievement could challenge societal expectations and open doors for future generations. His path to distinction began with rigorous education and an early dedication to leadership, qualities that earned him both respect and opportunity within the military. As he entered service, Robinson confronted a landscape where African American officers were scarce and opportunities for advancement were limited by systemic bias. Undeterred, he demonstrated exceptional skill, strategic insight, and a steadfast work ethic, quickly distinguishing himself in every assignment and earning recognition for both his tactical acumen and his ability to inspire those under his command. Over the course of his career, Robinson shattered racial barriers and achieved historic milestones, most notably becoming the first African-American four-star general in the United States Army, a rank that not only reflected personal excellence, but also symbolized a broader transformation within the military. His achievements were the result of decades of relentless commitment, operational expertise, and moral courage. As he navigated assignments spanning from troop command to strategic planning and policy development, influencing the Army's direction at the highest levels. Robinson's leadership extended beyond administrative and operational excellence. He became a mentor, role model, and advocate for diversity and inclusion, shaping a generation of officers who would continue to break barriers and redefine the possibilities for African Americans in the military. His career demonstrated that true heroism and leadership involve not only courage in the face of danger, but also the ability to transform institutions, challenge prejudice, and cultivate excellence in others. Robinson's legacy also reflects the intersection of personal achievement and societal impact. By excelling in the military's most demanding environments, he challenged deeply held biases, proving that talent, dedication, and vision transcend race. His influence reshaped both the perception and reality of African American leadership within the armed forces, leaving an enduring mark on military history and inspiring countless individuals to pursue excellence against the odds. Roscoe Robinson Jr.'s story illustrates that heroism is multifaceted, encompassing operational mastery, strategic vision, mentorship, and the courage to confront systemic injustice. By breaking historic barriers and achieving unprecedented rank, he demonstrated that resilience, intelligence, and unwavering commitment to duty can redefine institutions and inspire generations. Today, his life stands as a testament to the power of perseverance, leadership, and moral fortitude, proving that one individual's dedication and excellence can create lasting change, expand opportunities for others, and leave an indelible legacy on both history and the lives of those who follow. Roscoe Robinson Jr. embodies the intersection of courage, intellect, and transformative leadership, illustrating how extraordinary achievement can emerge not only from battlefield valor, but also from a lifetime of commitment to breaking barriers, mentoring others, and shaping a more equitable and capable military for generations to come. 16. Mac Ross. Mac Ross, born in 1912 in Selma, Alabama, grew up in a world defined by rigid racial divisions, limited educational opportunities, and a society that rarely imagined African Americans as aviators, let alone pioneers of military aviation. Yet from childhood, Ross harbored an intense fascination with flight, a fascination born not from privilege or access, but from a relentless curiosity and a determination to rise above the boundaries imposed on him. His early life was marked by hard work, perseverance, and an unwavering belief that the sky should belong to anyone courageous enough to reach for it. That belief carried him to Tuskegee Institute, where he excelled academically and demonstrated the discipline, intelligence, and focus needed for something far greater. When the United States launched its experimental program to train African American military pilots, later known as the Tuskegee Airmen, Ross became one of the first to step forward. Entering a program designed under the expectation that he and his peers would fail, Ross refused to be discouraged. He embraced the rigorous flight training with unmatched determination, mastering every aspect of aviation with precision and self-discipline. His instructors quickly recognized his talent, leadership, and calm under pressure. When the first class of Tuskegee pilots graduated in March 1942, Ross earned a place of honor. He became one of the first 5, the inaugural group of African American military aviators in United States history. This milestone was not only a personal triumph, it was a seismic moment in American military culture, a direct challenge to decades of racial prejudice and exclusion. With his wings earned, Ross continued to distinguish himself as both a pilot and a leader. He became a flight commander in the 99th Fighter Squadron, responsible for training new pilots and shaping the combat readiness of a unit whose very existence was under constant scrutiny from detractors who questioned the capability of black aviators. Ross's discipline, precision, and unwavering focus made him a stabilizing force within the squadron, a mentor whose standards became the foundation on which others built. Although he did not serve overseas due to an aircraft accident that claimed his life in 1942, his influence extended far beyond the missions he never had the chance to fly. Mac Ross embodied the breakthrough moment when African Americans first stepped into the role of military aviators, and his legacy became inseparable from the success of the Tuskegee Airmen who followed. The courage he displayed simply by earning his wings helped silence some of the era's most entrenched prejudices and set the stage for future combat achievements that would force the military and the world to acknowledge the skill, bravery, and professionalism of black pilots. His story serves as a reminder that not all heroes are defined by battlefield feats. Some earn their place in history by breaking barriers, shattering expectations, and inspiring generations through the example of their determination alone. Mac Ross stands as one of the foundational figures in African American military aviation, a man whose courage opened doors, whose dedication shaped the earliest chapters of the Tuskegee Airmen, and whose legacy continues to echo in every pilot who rises into the sky against the weight of doubt and discrimination. 17. James H. Meredith. James H. Meredith, born in 1933 in Kosciuszko, Mississippi, entered the world under one of the most oppressive racial climates in America, where segregation was enforced with violence and the idea of a black man challenging state power was considered unthinkable. Raised in a sharecropping family that understood hardship as a daily reality, Meredith grew up with a fierce sense of discipline, self-reliance, and purpose, qualities that became sharper during his service in the United States Air Force. There, he developed the worldview, confidence, and strategic mind of a man who understood both the structure of authority and the courage required to confront it. By the time he left the military in 1960, he had already made a decision that would transform the trajectory of civil rights in America. Meredith resolved that he would enter the University of Mississippi, known as Ole Miss, a school that had never admitted a black student and was symbolically guarded by decades of entrenched segregation. His decision was not a plea for acceptance. It was a deliberate act of resistance, a calculated confrontation with a system he believed violated the Constitution he had sworn to defend as a serviceman. When he applied for admission in 1961, Mississippi officials responded with obstruction, political maneuvering, and open hostility. Meredith fought back with legal precision, pursuing his case through the federal courts until the Supreme Court ruled in his favor, but the state refused to yield. Governor Ross Barnett personally blocked his enrollment, igniting a crisis that would pull the nation into one of the most violent civil rights showdowns of the era. In 1962, Meredith returned to campus under the protection of hundreds of U.S. Marshals, National Guardsmen, and federal troops, an extraordinary mobilization that underscored the gravity of the confrontation. That night, Ole Miss erupted into a deadly riot as segregationists hurled bricks, fired guns, and attacked federal officers in an attempt to stop a single man from attending class. Amid tear gas, gunfire, and chaos, Meredith remained resolute. His entrance into the university was not only a personal victory, but a symbolic strike at the heart of institutional segregation. For the next year, he walked the campus under armed guard, isolated but unbroken, determined to complete his education despite daily threats, harassment, and hostility. His graduation in 1963 marked more than the achievement of a degree. It marked the moment when one individual's determination forced the most resistant state in the South to comply with federal law, reshaping the future of civil rights across the nation. Meredith's mission did not end at Ole Miss. He continued to challenge injustice through activism, notably leading the 1966 March Against Fear, during which he was shot and wounded, but refused to abandon the effort, inspiring thousands to join the movement. James H. Meredith's legacy transcends the battlefield and the classroom. He stands as a symbol of strategic courage, moral clarity, and the power of individual defiance. His story proves that heroism is not only found in combat, but also in the willingness to confront systems built to crush one's dignity. By forcing the gates of Ole Miss open, Meredith changed the course of American history, demonstrating that even the most deeply entrenched institutions can be broken when a single individual stands firm with unwavering resolve, discipline, and the conviction that equality is worth every sacrifice. 18. Leonard Roy Harmon. Leonard Roy Harmon was not a man the world expected to remember. He was quiet, disciplined, and carried himself with the steady calm of someone who understood hardship early and learned to live above it. Born in Cuero, Texas in 1917, he grew up in a segregated America that offered young black men few paths forward. But Harmon found one place where he believed merit still mattered: the United States Navy. When he enlisted in 1939, he stepped into a world that would test his courage in ways he could never have imagined. At that time, the Navy allowed African Americans to serve only in restricted roles, most commonly as stewards. Harmon accepted the uniform not because the position was limiting, but because duty was not defined by titles. He trained rigorously, earning a reputation aboard the USS San Francisco as dependable, disciplined, and fiercely protective of the men around him. Those who served with him later recalled that he had an instinct for danger, a sixth sense that made him move faster, react quicker, and notice threats before others realized they were there. Nothing in his life, however, compared to the night of November 12, 1942, during the brutal naval battle of Guadalcanal. The USS San Francisco was thrown into one of the most violent close-range surface engagements of the entire Pacific War explosions. Ripped through steel. Gunfire tore across the decks. The ship shook under the relentless pounding of Japanese fire. In the chaos, Harmon did not seek cover. Instead, he ran toward the screams, the smoke, and the shattered bodies left in the wake of enemy shells. Working alongside the ship's pharmacist's mate, he helped pull wounded sailors from exposed positions, carrying them through choking smoke and burning metal. Witnesses later recalled that the air was so thick with heat and debris that visibility shrank to almost nothing, yet Harmon moved as if guided by pure instinct, refusing to leave anyone behind. During one attempt to evacuate the wounded, the Japanese guns found their mark again. A barrage smashed into the ship, turning the deck into a deadly storm of splinters and shrapnel. Harmon saw an officer standing exposed, vulnerable to the next blast. Without hesitation, he threw himself between the officer and the incoming fire, using his own body as a shield. The explosion struck. Harmon absorbed the fragments meant for a fellow sailor. He collapsed within seconds, fatally wounded, but the man he protected lived. Leonard Roy Harmon's sacrifice was as profound as it was selfless. At a time when African American servicemen were denied the chance to fight as equals, he demonstrated a level of heroism that transcended the prejudices of his era. The Navy recognized this, awarding him the Navy Cross, one of the highest decorations for valor. Years later, a warship, the USS Harmon, would be named in his honor, making him the first African American to have a U.S. Navy vessel bear his name. His story is not only a tale of courage under fire, it is a reminder of the countless black servicemen whose bravery reshaped what heroism looked like in America. Harmon served in a role the Navy tried to minimize. Yet in his final moments, he embodied everything the uniform was meant to represent: duty, sacrifice, and unbreakable loyalty. Leonard Roy Harmon did not survive the night at Guadalcanal, but the legacy he forged, the life he protected, the standard he set, lives far beyond the battle that claimed him. In the quiet courage of men like him, history found its truest soldiers. 19. Lee Archer. Lee Archer's story begins long before he ever touched the controls of a fighter aircraft. Born in 1919 in Yonkers, New York, he grew up during a time when the sky itself seemed to have boundaries for African Americans. Pilots were celebrated as modern knights, but black aviators were dismissed as a fantasy. Archer, however, was built from a quieter kind of defiance, the kind that grows in silence, shaped by discipline rather than rebellion. As a young man, he devoured books about aviation and spent hours watching aircraft arc across the sky, imagining a future that America still refused to believe he could claim. When World War II erupted, he tried to enlist in the Army Air Corps, only to be rejected solely because of his race. The message was clear: the sky was not meant for him. But Archer refused to accept this as the end of his story. When the Tuskegee Airmen program opened, he seized the opportunity with the determination of someone who had waited his entire life for a single door to unlock. Training at Tuskegee was harsh, unforgiving, and designed to prove that black pilots were incapable of matching their white counterparts. Yet Archer excelled, not simply meeting expectations but redefining them. Instructors remembered him as precise, focused, and unshakably calm, a pilot who treated every maneuver as a promise he intended to keep. By 1944, Archer was flying with the famed 332nd Fighter Group, the Red Tails, over the skies of Europe. There, he found the ultimate test of skill, nerve, and endurance. Combat missions over enemy territory were long and brutal. Pilots faced flak exploding like dark flowers in the air, German fighters slicing through the sky, and the constant pressure of protecting the bombers that relied on them. Archer thrived in this chaos. His situational awareness was instinctive, his marksmanship lethal. On October 12, 1944, he achieved what would cement his place in aviation history, shooting down 4 enemy aircraft in a single day, making him one of the war's most successful African-American fighter aces. But numbers alone do not capture Archer's significance. What truly defined him was how he carried himself outside the cockpit. He understood that every mission, every victory, every flawless escort was more than a military duty. It was a statement. The Red Tails were constantly scrutinized, waiting for any mistake that could justify the prejudice that shadowed them. Archer fought not only for survival, but for dignity, for possibility, for the right of future generations to look to the sky without barriers. After the war, Archer continued to serve, transitioning into roles that allowed him to break more than just aerial records. He became a diplomat, a business leader, and a mentor, proving that his discipline and intellect were as sharp on the ground as they had been in the air. Despite his accomplishments, recognition came slowly and too late as the country struggled to confront its long history of denying credit to black servicemen. Archer never complained. Instead, he let his achievements speak for themselves. In time, history caught up. He was celebrated as one of the most skilled and respected pilots of the Tuskegee Airmen, a man who proved that excellence needs no permission. Lee Archer died in 2010, but his legacy remains indelible, etched into the sky he fought so hard to own. His life is a testament to resilience, courage, and the quiet determination of a man who refused to let the world define his limits. Lee Archer did not simply fly, He broke barriers at full throttle, carving a path wide enough for generations to follow. 20. Alfred Masters. Alfred Masters' journey into American military history began with a signature, one that would quietly but permanently alter the identity of the U.S. Marine Corps. Born in 1916 in Oklahoma, he came of age in a country that celebrated freedom loudly yet restricted it sharply. Masters was not a man drawn to speeches or spotlight. He was defined instead by his steadiness, the kind of calm strength that never announces itself yet cannot be overlooked. When World War II erupted, he was working ordinary jobs, living an ordinary life, unaware that history was preparing to pull him into extraordinary territory. In 1942, President Roosevelt authorized the Marine Corps to accept African Americans for the first time. To many, it was a footnote in wartime policy. To Masters, it was a doorway few believed would ever open. When he approached the recruiting office, he had no intention of making history, he simply wanted to serve. But on June 1, 1942, Alfred Masters became the first African American ever sworn into the U.S. Marine Corps, an act that shattered a 167-year barrier. He did not step out as a symbol or hero, yet his presence alone forced the Corps to confront change it had resisted for generations. Training awaited him at Montford Point, a segregated camp carved out of the North Carolina woods. The place was hot, humid, and deliberately isolated, a reminder of the Marine Corps' reluctance to integrate even as the nation fought for global freedom. Masters endured long marches through sand that swallowed each step, punishing drills, and the unspoken challenge of proving that Black Marines deserved to wear the same uniform. His instructors tested him relentlessly, but they also recognized his reliability. Masters was not reckless, not loud, and not easily broken. He absorbed hardship with a quiet discipline that earned respect without ever demanding it. As more African American recruits arrived, they looked to Masters not because he sought leadership, but because he represented possibility. He became a steady hand in the chaos of early training, the one who had navigated the path before anyone else. While many Montford Point Marines later became celebrated fighters in the Pacific, Masters' influence worked in a different direction. He bridged transitions, guided newcomers, and helped transform a segregated battalion into a formidable force that the Marine Corps could no longer ignore. Unlike some wartime figures whose stories center on frontline heroics, Masters' impact lived in the institutional shift he symbolized. His presence forced policy to bend. His service validated the thousands of Black Marines who followed him, and his steady commitment helped reshape a branch of the military that once swore it would never accept men like him. Even after leaving the Marines, Masters carried himself with the same unassuming resolve that had defined his service. He returned to civilian life without fanfare, working, raising a family, and watching from a distance as the Marine Corps slowly evolved into one of the most diverse branches of the U.S. military. Decades later, when the nation finally acknowledged the Montford Point Marines with the Congressional Gold Medal, Alfred Masters' name resurfaced, no longer an administrative footnote but a foundational figure. History remembered what he never boasted about, that he was the first to step forward, the first to endure the storm, and the first to prove that the Marine Corps could and would include African Americans in its ranks. Alfred Masters did not seek glory. Yet, by walking through a door that had been closed for generations, he changed the Marine Corps forever. His legacy lives not in dramatic battlefield stories, but in the quiet courage of a man whose single act of enlistment became the spark for an entire movement of service, sacrifice, and long overdue recognition. 21st. Reginald Lewis. Reginald Lewis did not enter the world of American history through the blast of artillery or the chaos of battlefield smoke. His battlefield was the boardroom, yet his influence shaped the nation's economic and strategic landscape in ways that echoed far beyond corporate walls. Born in 1942 in Baltimore's East Side, a neighborhood marked by tight streets, relentless ambition, and the quiet hum of working-class life, Lewis learned early that the world rarely offered opportunities. It had to be challenged, negotiated with, and ultimately transformed. From childhood, he carried a sharp intuition for leadership. Teachers noticed the way he examined problems, not with impatience, but with precision. When he captained his high school football team, he did not rely on size or strength. He commanded the field with calculation and nerve. That same strategic mind would eventually make him one of the most influential black businessmen in American history. Yet before his corporate victories, Lewis stepped into the rigid discipline of military life as part of the U.S. Army EROTC program during his time in college. It exposed him to chain-of-command structure, operational thinking, and the foundational discipline that later shaped his approach to business negotiations that felt at times like combat missions. After graduating from Virginia State College, Lewis entered Harvard Law School, not through wealth, legacy, or connections, but through pure, undeniable merit. There, he demonstrated the same intensity soldiers show when mastering battlefield tactics. He organized information meticulously, analyzed opponents' strategies, and dissected legal frameworks with unwavering focus. When other students were satisfied to meet expectations, Lewis pushed further, determined to understand the entire architecture of power. His rise through the legal world was swift. He founded his own law firm, making it one of the first black-led firms specializing in corporate law. What set him apart was not just ambition, it was a field commander mentality. Lewis treated negotiations like campaigns, identifying terrain, calculating leverage, and striking only when the advantage was absolute. This tactical precision culminated in the acquisition that would redefine corporate history: the $985 million leveraged buyout of Beatrice International Foods. It was a deal so complex and audacious that seasoned executives doubted it could ever be completed. But Lewis proved them wrong, turning the company into one of the largest black-owned enterprises in the world. His success sent shockwaves through America. In an era still shadowed by racial barriers, Lewis stood as living proof that brilliance could slice through obstacles once thought impenetrable. His achievements reshaped perceptions of what black leadership could look like in high-level corporate and economic arenas. And while he was not a soldier in uniform, his strategic victories influenced national economic competitiveness and opened paths for future generations to step into positions of real power. Despite his immense wealth, Lewis never abandoned the communities that forged him. He funded scholarships, educational programs, and initiatives aimed at empowering young people whose futures might otherwise remain confined by circumstance. His philanthropy was not an afterthought, but a mission, a recognition that legacies are built not solely on personal triumph, but on the doors one leaves open behind. When Reginald Lewis passed away in 1993, the nation mourned a visionary whose life illuminated a different dimension of American strength: the power of intellect, strategy, and fearless ambition. His story remains a testament to a man who confronted systemic limitations not with rage, but with mastery. He did not march into history with a rifle or a medal. He entered with a pen, a plan, and a determination so formidable that the world was forced to take notice. Reginald Lewis changed American history by proving that leadership, like courage, is not limited to the battlefield. Sometimes it emerges in boardrooms, in contracts, in ideas, and in the unwavering will of a man who refused to accept the limits that others tried to set. In the end, these 22 heroes stand as living proof that American history was never shaped by a single path, a single face, or a single voice. It was built by men and women who rose from obscurity, from oppression, from silence, and still chose courage. Some fought with rifles in their hands, others with aircraft beneath their wings, and some with nothing more than conviction burning fiercely in their hearts. But all of them rewrote the boundaries of what this nation believed was possible. Their stories remind us that heroism is not born from perfect moments. It emerges from impossible ones. It appears when a sailor refuses to abandon his shipmates, when a pilot challenges gravity and prejudice at the same time, when a soldier stands firm against overwhelming odds, or when a visionary pushes open the doors the world tries to keep shut. These are not just tales of battlefield triumphs. They are chapters of resilience, sacrifice, and relentless willpower. And the legacy they leave behind is not made of medals or monuments. It lives in the freedoms defended, the institutions strengthened, the barriers broken, and the generations inspired. Their courage continues to shape the country we walk through today, a country still struggling, still striving, still learning from those who dared to push it forward. As the echoes of their footsteps fade into history, they leave us with a simple truth. Greatness is not inherited, it is chosen. And every one of us carries the power to choose it. Whether in moments of crisis or in the quiet decisions no one else sees, we too can move the world forward. The story of these heroes does not end here. It continues with the next generation of dreamers, fighters, leaders, and believers. It continues with you.